Good evening, everybody, and welcome to TFC Live Season 3, Episode 18, BS9. And that's going to be my new nickname for Bounty, BS, which I think is really fitting. But Bounty Season 9, Success or Disaster. And, of course, the weekly update, which is a fair bit to cover. So before we even go into that, how is the wonderful panel tonight?
Doing rather well yourself.
I'm here.
Good. Just the three of us tonight, but more than enough. We'll get through this just fine. Rue is going to run through the slides, so unless anyone wants to throw anything else in there, I'll let you slip away for Rue.
Okay. You got me on present?
Yeah, should be.
Okay, that would be present, not kick out.
Oh yeah, I should not click that button. I should just do it my way, what I normally do, because.
Okay, Season 3, Episode 18, slide pack content for this week. I've got a housekeeping slide because we've got a couple of things that are going on, shenanigans. Then we're going to talk about Rampage's report from Friday. We're going to do a quick review of Bounty 9, go through the weekly update, and then take a look at the bug fixes and balance changes. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Lots of things happening today. First off, obviously everybody's probably aware they had some game instability issues earlier today. They are aware of it. They are working on it. From what I have heard, it seems to have settled down now, but there were instances where folks were not able to engage in battles or even view battles. So I know that was causing angst with TLCs that were going on. And then somebody noticed this morning that the Makara's Manticore blueprint was actually in the shipyard. Obviously, if you don't own a blueprint, if it's in the game, you can still see it by looking at it in the shipyard. We've been informed by Kix that the current Makara's Manticore blueprint is, and I think still may be in, is not correct. So don't make any plans based on the stats that you're seeing in there, as well as build times, repair times, and things like that. It should be removed, if not already soon. So just don't make any plans based on that. And then there is a range display issue with the explosive scope. If you put the explosive scope on the Hopes and the Onslaught, it's showing an unbelievable range if you're looking at it from a base design view. And then we've also heard reports from people saying that if you do put it on the Onslaught, it's actually not increasing the range. So not heard anything official on that yet, but I know some folks did some testing with some map targets, and I know there are some folks that are going to be testing this afternoon. Okay, moving on to Rampage reports for April the 27th. First off, he talked about the Dragon fleet, which he iterated is the fleet for the FM, and that we are going to see the flag released within the next couple of months. I believe the original date that we were given was July. He also touched on the fact that Adobe, of course, is discontinuing support for Flash Player in 2020. And so the team is currently working on future-proofing the game and working towards having the game running in HTML5, which is a good thing. Hopefully should help with some of the instability issues as well as lag and get us onto a more secure platform. And then he touched on the overdamage. The original intention of the overdamage was to solve a problem of attacking fleets and defeating guard fleets in the time allowed. Of course, this caused issues with some of the super fleets that are out there in outside guards for people's bases, as well as for the map targets for bounty. The unintended side effect of that was that it was melting tier 6 fleets. And so he said that the team was taking a look at it and that an adjustment would be made sometime after bounty. So while bounty was on, they did institute global half repair, which was really good. Unfortunately, that half repair only lasted until Saturday night.
Yeah, I wish that would have gone a little bit more.
Yes. Yeah. So this was kind of the issues that I guess were caused by the overdamage. Basically, for a lot of people, except for a very few, it was basically rest in peace base defense and guard fleets. I know a lot of folks spent a lot of time making builds, tokens, refitting with the change, refitting after the change, as well as flat out coining builds to go ahead and set their base up, and that was, somewhat effectively negated with the change that was put in. I know personally, from my perspective, I don't have the U-Butte super uber fleets. I was able to get into bases that I absolutely should not have been able to get into. So good for me, but bad for the folks that actually put the time and effort into to make their base unbreakable. And it didn't just render the tier 6 fleets. Chris specifically mentioned this. It basically affected all fleets. I mean, if you sat back far enough, you could kill off onslaughts, you could kill off MSCs. It was affecting everything. And then the other thing was that was kind of released right before Bounty. So people did not have, I believe it was Wednesday we did the update, and then Bounty started Thursday. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the end result was that, of course, because of this, there was a huge amount of frubbling that was going on during Bounty. There was lower participation because people just could not defend. And there were a lot more lower bases that were being farmed for, itty bitty amounts for like 400, just because there weren't any other targets that were out there. And I know, Liam, you had some issues with this.
Yeah, I had a lot of problems with it. I mean, I think there's some people that this didn't affect. So I've seen people, talking about this not affecting them at all. It affected me. It seemed to have a massive effect on my base. I mean, I spent the 4 weeks running up to Bounty, tweaking my base and getting my base ready and planning, and my base was pretty solid up until Bounty started. I mean, it was running well. It was stopping 99.9% of people. I mean, it was doing great. And then they did this release. And in all fairness, one thing I will say, like, as I had like more time to calm down, because I was really, really annoyed about it on Saturday and when it first came out, I kind of do feel that the overdamage in some ways is needed, because the 360 pass through is so low that I think it really slowed down PvP, and so something was needed to kind of speed that up a little bit. But it was all about the timing. I think that was the problem. If they'd give us, like, if they'd done it a week before and they'd give us some time to adjust and adapt and be ready and be prepared and understand it, that probably wouldn't have been a problem. It was the fact that they did it one day before Bounty started. And so no one could adapt and no one could change. And Bounty, for me, was just horrible. It was the worst experience in BP I've had in many, many years.
Is that overall you're talking? Because I had problems with the frubbling part. I mean, I had people trying to hit me, and by the time I got my fleet on the map, they were already in a bubble.
Yeah, I mean,
and the timer had already started. Like they were already in a bubble that was, like 3 minutes already in, and yeah, that was annoying as hell.
The frubbling was I've never seen as much frubbling as we've seen in this event, and I think that was caused by the whole overdamage thing. On the last day on the big checkpoint, I mean, I didn't hit the required points, but I got enough. I mean, I think I ended up, by the time it ended, I had about 110, 111k, and that was 122 global. So I don't even think the world top 100 got enough points, which is a good example to Kix as to where people were on this Bounty. And another thing that annoyed me is, not only were people not really participating in terms of the way we would normally do it, the way we would normally go out and hit each other, on the last day, as well as the frubbling, people resorted to taking their gun off their OP, maxing out his armor, maxing out all its tac fields and whatnot, just beefing it up as much as they could. They literally stripped everything off their island and just made it all defense. And then they would sit there with, MSCs or onslaughts and just drive them onto you. And, so even if you did get through a base and you did get in the base, you couldn't really do anything. You couldn't kill the OP, because that was just people just exploited the tactics we had. But it really wasn't a PvP event. It was just hit the map targets event to me.
Oh, no, I mean, I did it. I mean, I had no choice, because I went from somewhat being able to defend depending on the fleet to being walked by everything. So I did exactly that. I tossed half of my MSCs in my base guard with my onslaughts and ripped off my BFG and jacked up my outpost, and I didn't enjoy it. And then I was having to sit there and watch it. And there were multiple times when I went out to hit bases, and you watch the timers and you think, oh, okay, there's nobody here, and so you hit it, you're like 5 minutes away from the base, and you get there, and the timer would expire, and someone would already be there hitting it, frubbling it. It was very frustrating.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Sorry, go on, George.
No, I was just saying there was a lot of stuff that was annoying. I don't know if it's the next slide or not, but there's a couple of things that were really bad in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's go ahead and dive into them.
Yeah, I mean, it just these. Let's do over damage first.
Yeah, I just wanted to, because we talked about what it was originally and then why it was painful, and then so today, Kix did actually address it. They addressed it by adjusting it. They have reduced the over damage on the 2XQ mortar, as well as the D55X, and then they increased the over damage on the Siege Rocket L100 CT. So they're all pretty much 636 now, which is around about, with the exception of the rocket, around about half of what it was originally.
Why even name it over damage though? Why can't they just name it minimum damage? It's something. Yeah, we know what the hell minimum damage is. Just call it that and not make up new freaking terms for an old mechanic.
Because the thing I don't understand is because the way pass-through works, from my understanding, is that it takes the highest value of pass-through of anything that's on the ship, including the ship weapons and defensive specials. So why not just make the pass-through on these 3 weapons that 636?
Well, that's exactly what it is, but they're overcomplicating the way they're writing it and confusing people, because that's exactly what it is. But they've written it, they've delivered it in the most complicated fashion. Well,
the thing is that the pass-through damage that they have listed, for the most part, is deflection based. So if you use X item for this deflection, the minimum pass-through is this, right? This is for the actual damage from the weapon itself. You see what I mean? Now the thing is, I don't know if they actually stack. Like, do you get, because you're using the Q mortar, you get that 636 minimum damage? Does that also get added to the pass through if you're using the explosive armor?
Well, as far as didn't they say?
Chris said it was not in conjunction with, meaning it's not added to pass through. And my understanding is it applies to all damage. Yeah.
Okay, so it'll take the highest.
But what's interesting about these adjustments is Thursday onwards, Siege Missile was overpowered and the best, and now it looks like Siege Rocket is going to be the best, which is weird, because Siege Rocket's kind of been underpowered for a while, I think. So it would be nice to see it get a little bit better. But
that's funny, because I actually use that on my I use it in my base guard. We'll say that.
Yeah, I've been using it in mine as well for the longest time.
On your what, George? On your what? And with what?
I had it on 2 ships, and now I have it on 3. But yeah, I mean, it's also got the highest range as well, which is good for a rocket. So
yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully this will make things a little bit easier. I mean, not as overbearing as they were. I mean, I understand having some of it, but I've not yet tested this today, so I can't speak to how much of a difference that it makes. But
well, in theory, the 2QX is going to kill your fleet in less than half the efficiency it used to, and the siege missile is going to be like 1/3. So if you look at how your guards were getting sink body ships in Bounty, that's kind of where they are now.
Okay. All right. Bounty 9 review. Let's just go ahead and talk through, because we had some issues with it. There were some good things, but there were also some bad things.
Actually, I'm just going to interrupt, because there's questions in chat about minimum damage, pass through, and over damage. Do they counter deflection? Just to clarify, it does not counter deflection. What it is so the minimum pass through and over damage, if your damage does not exceed the deflection on the hull, these will apply. Now, so with over damage, the way that it was written, and I haven't gotten clarification on this yet, with over damage, it said the way they wrote it was that it's damage that's done in excess of or after the deflection. I don't know if it actually gets still added on if you break deflection. That one I don't know. So, FYI, but it does not. It's not a.
I think based on what we were seeing in the game, I would say that was probably a yes.
Yeah, I'll have to remember to find out this week.
What was it? What was it?
If you break deflection, because the way that they had written over damage, the description originally was that it was in excess, or it's damage that's done beyond the deflection or something. I can't remember the way that they'd phrased it, but the way it read was that it was if you broke deflection, it still would get added on to that as well. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to find out.
Well, if you can break deflection, geez, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Bounty 9.0. I can't believe it's been 9 already. I mean, it's 9 months of this. Prizes. It was 118K for the top prizes, and by top prizes I mean if you already owned anything that you possibly could have. This was just what it cost for the new stuff, and that did not include the new skin. So a lot of points that were needed in conjunction with everything else that was going on. The other thing was that the TAC mods, and I'm talking here that the older ones, what is it, Tactical Focus, I think it is, was the original one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tactical Focus has been around for a while now. They have massively reduced the missile storm cruiser. They massively reduced the weapons that went with it in Bounty. We've not seen these TAC mods in the raid, and we also haven't seen a price reduction in these.
Yeah, I don't get that, and it's so frustrating. You know, I understand that they do give you a slight buff, but to be quite honest, you know, as long as you get your deflection high enough, it kind of doesn't even do anything. You know, why are they holding on to these so tightly? I expected, when the introduction of a TAC slot on a ship came out, I expected a whole flurry of new TAC modules being made available for us to research, and in FMs. I thought they were going to be everywhere. I thought we were going to, I mean, how easy of a way is TAC mods to introduce new tactics and strategies? You know, I just find it odd that we've only seen 2, and the first one was, you know, the only one we'd seen for 4 months, and it's like so difficult to get.
Well, and they actually dropped it for one of the bounties. It was like in the first bounty when it came out with the MSC, and then it like wasn't in the next one, but then it was in the following one, and they increased it from 3 to 5. It's just been really interesting as to why this one is kind of, you know, not out there. They did have prizes at all price points. They also did decrease items, the price for new items. In the past, some of the newer stuff has been at the 15K point. This time we saw the turrets at 12K instead of 15. They did have the sloth. You could get the sloth and accessories for 5,100. But Iris just brought up a really good point in chat. It was the survivor, the sloth, the millennium gun, and the innovated, as well as high velocity rounds. There was kind of like no progression down for the lower folks. There was no onslaught down there. In the past, we've had the boulder. We've had kind of more newer hulls, so that was a little bit disappointing that you know, we didn't see the onslaught in there, and it was kind of stuff that's been in the raid multiple times and in bounty multiple times. So there were actually people that could only get just the tokens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Opponent map targets. The only changes from last time around, I did notice that because of the over damage issue, there were a lot more of these bases that were out there that did not have guards in them. A lot of people had pulled their guards. They did increase the payout because of the over damage by 10%. And so that was a little bit better. Because of the over damage, and this was the plus, because of the over damage, guards were easier to kill. So those were the good things. Because, again, there were so few real base targets out there. I mean, I spent hours and could not find any regular bases to hit. You know, I had to go spend hours grinding these out, which, although it was not hard, it was just very, very time consuming.
It's extremely
the locator. Yeah, the locator still sucks.
Oh, it is, yeah. And then you're scrolling, and so because you're scrolling, you're trying to get your fleet over there, and by the time you get there, somebody else has already either snagged a base or it's getting in trouble.
Yeah, or because you're scrolling through the map, you know your computer just goes so slow, and the game starts lagging, and you have to refresh, and you start over again. It just sucked.
On the last day, it seems to get so much more laggy. I don't know why that is. On the final day, or like I spent 8 hours leading up to the finish line, just sat there hitting these straight, and it just seems to get really. I did it last bounty as well, and it just seems to be so bad on that last day. I don't know why, but so it just seems to slow down.
And if it was in the 400s, I blame SDS7 and SODP because they were battling like crazy on that last day. Everybody was on.
Yeah. Even before the last day, and I'd actually reported it to Kix, I would hit like 3 of the opposition bases, and if they had the newer fleets in the guard, like Onslaughts or MSCs or Hopes and that kind of stuff in there, if I hit 3 of those, I was kicking and tripping at 3.5 gig, and that's with nothing else running. And a new machine, not a bad internet connection. It was insane. It was constantly happening. So they were looking at it, and I believe they made some adjustments. But there were a couple of times throughout Bounty where it was just, I'm going to shut it down for a couple of hours.
Well, I found it smoother on Gamer Room, so I just it seemed to be a lot less laggy on there. I don't know why.
Yeah. Okay. Keeper of the Nexus. My understanding was that SDS7 and SDOP had some fun on the last day, George.
Yeah, SODP and SDS7 had some pretty impressive battles for the last. It was actually mostly the last day. It started the night before, and it just continued. It was like, yeah, it was insane. I got to give SODP credit, man. They fight. They do fight. But in the end, we ended up taking 4 Nexuses, and we jumped in, I think, the last 24 hours into that world. And it was fun. It was probably more fun than trying to do regular bounty, because I couldn't find targets. There was nothing ever in the locator for me, and I didn't have time to grind on little doohickey thingies. So when that started, it got really interesting. Now I did have problems with my Mega on that last day, because there was a point where I think it was actually this Nexus right here where I couldn't link up, and I got really upset because I'd come down from the other Nexus and it would not let me link up, and I was pissed. But yeah, there was some interesting things going on with this. It was a fun time at the Nexus again.
Yeah, I figured something had happened because all of a sudden I jumped like 100 places on the leaderboard for the world, and then I realized why. I was like, oh, they all moved.
Yeah.
Yeah. In addition to the Keeper of the Nexus, if you're not aware of it, the payout was supposed to be 4,400 for the bounty bonus, and it is granting 4,000, not 400, not the 4,400. Kix is aware of it, and they are supposed to be crediting folks the extra 400 for each of their Nexuses on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Bugs. I'm going to let George take this one.
Oh boy. So yeah, there was a lot of bugs in this bounty, and I actually ran into every single one of these things, which is really, really, really frustrating. Not to mention the hacked howies. I know we didn't stick that in here, but that was another thing that was really frustrating, to go in and go, oh look, I'm gonna get 3,000 bounty, and you're not even in the channel, and your MSCs are dead. I'm like, what the hell, man? The only thing that's shooting at you is the howie. That's a problem. But the Nexus, it was shorted by 400 at the end. For the first couple minutes, a lot of players weren't able to even claim the Nexus at all. And that sorted itself out after about 5 or 10 minutes. But then it was only paying the 4,000 rather than the 4,400. And as Drew already said, that's going to be coming out on Wednesday, I believe. And it should be automatic. I know a lot of people sent in tickets. I sent in a ticket because I noticed it before they had said anything. Now, the next one was really frustrating. You weren't getting bubbles when you got hit. You would hit, I got hit for 100% the only time in the entire bounty that I got whacked for real, and I did not have a bubble, which really cost me, because I went back to, I got in, I didn't have a bubble. I had to have my guard start repairing. Eventually, I was like, I had some time to play in, 2 hours later, and I'm like, okay, I can't, I'm going to be screwed no matter what. So I was like, the hell with it. I'm just going to go and start hitting some stuff, and it is what it is. And I had another alliance, a couple of sectors over, come in, and they hit me back to back 3 times, and finally got in, and I didn't bubble again. And at that point, I was like, the hell with it. I dropped everything. I walked the hell out. I just was like, I'm not playing. A lot of people were reporting that the bubbles were not coming on. With that hit too, I mean, it was the last 2 hits back to back. If you added the damage up, came out to something like, it was like 24 and 9%. So it was like 33%, which makes you go past a damage checkpoint. I should have gotten a bubble, no bubble. And it was just the most frustrating thing in the world, because other people were going in and, you know, frubbling before they even got out of your base, and you couldn't even hit them back. And yet you're not getting a bubble. That was just very, yeah. And then the last one was really annoying too, because if you were unlucky enough to not get a bubble, your base also started freaking repairing on its own. You weren't online, you came back on, and you got hit twice for bounty losses after you'd gotten 100% of the first time. I got mine, I caught it, and I hadn't actually gotten hit again, but mine had started repairing. I had another member of my alliance got hit, I think, 3 times overnight. And the first, it was 100%.
They're not little hits either. These are like 10K in bounty hits.
Yeah, huge amounts of bounty. And and you could see it in the battle log. It was 100% the first time, and then it was like another two hits, and he lost bounty each time. And I'm like, what the hell? So not only was he not getting the bubble, he also didn't, you know, his base started repairing so they could come in and hit him again. And, you know, that led to some, I mean, he's about ready to quit completely. So not a good.
And I was asking this, sorry to interrupt, but I was asking this on the page the other day when somebody had reported this, because I can't speak for Facebook, but I know, you know, and my question was, well, did you go on the forums? Because even though you're not in your base and you click on forums, you know how you can click play from that green play button from the forums. You know, was it a case of, okay, maybe the game thinks that because you're on the forum and you're and technically actively signed in, if that was it. But I could not find from all of the discussions that I had with various people any one common denominator. You know, couldn't say, well, it's because you're on a game room, or it's because you went to the forums and you're on kicks. Because I actually didn't have this issue. The couple of times that I was flattened, and when I get flattened, I get flattened. Mine did not repair. In fact, I was out of town the last morning of bounty, so I couldn't even log in, and I got hit. I signed off after getting hit early in the morning, and when I signed back on after bounty had finished, I hadn't repaired and still had my bubble.
Yeah. I don't know. It was
there was something else that somebody else brought up too. Oh, the guards that were moving.
Oh, yeah.
Andrew
or
had
docking.
mentioned,
Or
yeah,
even
a couple of people, and I think it was you, George, that brought up to wait a couple minutes before signing off or something.
I've had some serious trouble with a lot of different things, and this is actually during regular gameplay as well. It actually happened today before the show. I'll start a repair, or I'll move my guard around or something like that, and even if I'm playing in the game, going onto the map, I'll come back and either the thing hasn't started repairing, the guard's back to where it was originally, or it's docked, like it's not even on the damn water. There's some just weird wonky crap going on. It's just
I did get hit like 3 times in one night while I was asleep. I woke up and I'd been hit 3 times. And like, surely my base should have stayed dead. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. And the thing is too, is you're sending in CS tickets and you know, even with pictures and everything, you can show them live video, and apparently they're just not sending out any bounty at all. They're not compensating bounty that you've lost or anything, which is really frustrating.
Yeah, I did want to touch on that. Chris had answered a question, because there's been multiple threads on the forum about people saying, well, I sent in a ticket 5 days ago. Why hasn't it been answered? Obviously, the more tickets there are, the longer it's going to take to get to them. But Jeff actually showed one today that I thought was rather hilarious. He was actually reporting one of the overpowered Howie bases, and it was essentially told to report the cheater, you know, through the report the cheater option. Well, you can't, because you need the player ID, and, you know, Kix is saying send in pictures of the bounties with that, you know, lovely little ID in the top left corner so we can find them. And then, you know, it's getting kicked back, and they essentially merged like 5 or 6 of his tickets together and didn't solve but any of them. So, you know, that's kind of frustrating right now.
Yeah, I mean, I had one ticket in where I was very clearly explaining one thing, and they essentially merged it into a mass mailing and sent out gold instead. And I'm like, that's not what I was even talking about. Okay. I mean, that doesn't solve anything. It's not a discussion. It's not anything. I mean, that just sounds like it's a brush off, which really is bad given the situation of this bounty.
Well, especially when you're actually reporting something that is actually either broken or an exploit, or or something that they've asked us to do. They've said send in these things if you see them, and there's no way to do it other than going through regular customer service, and it's all getting pushed back.
Mm-hmm.
I had a few people PM me before the show regarding asking if we could mention CS on the show. I think they were quite disgruntled at the way it's been these last sort of week and the way it's working. I don't know what's going on in there. I mean, I guess it is a busy time, but there's a lot of pissed off players right now with the CS.
Well, yeah, they're probably swamped with all the issues that we had in this bounty. They're probably swamped with tickets, but that doesn't. I mean, that shouldn't preclude like an actual legit response.
Yeah, I don't mind a delay in the response, but at least answer what I'm reporting. Even if it's just to say, yep, got it, we passed it on. Don't merge 6 completely different things and say, here's 100 gold and be done with it. Especially if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and passing that piece on, that's fine, but at least let us know.
Yeah, and I mean, these 100 golds or whatever, I mean, they don't lose anything, do they? They're just giving you currency.
No, but I mean, here's the thing. If I add up all the crap that I lost out in for bounty, particularly like the hits where I knew I was getting, like I walked in, like one of the bases was, there's 2 of them. There was one that was a little bit over 3,000. There was one that was worth either like 6,000 or 7,000. And I'm like, my mouth was watering. I got into this base. The base sucked. There was crap for guard. I was like, I'm going to walk this thing. And I got in maybe an inch into the channel, and the Howie started firing, and my MSCs were dead. And I'm like, all right, dude, if I add up all that crap, it's over 30,000 bounty I didn't get. And 100 gold is like a big FU from Kixeye in my mind.
And this Howie issue as well. I mean, come on, this has been 3-4 weeks now. People, this is just it's everywhere. It's in all the pages. It's in the forums. When are they gonna? Surely that should be top priority.
I haven't even gotten an acknowledgement about it. I've gotten a, hey, you can report it to this, da-da-da. I'm like, I already did. That is not... I can distinguish between the 2 tickets I sent. I sent this one on the base, and I sent this one because I lost this bounty. Mm-hmm. They closed it. Well, hell.
Okay, moving on to bounty, there were a couple of posts on various pages. In fact, there was one on the crib where a bunch of people had actually put some suggestions on there. Some, of course, which we know probably won't happen, but I'm going to put them forth anyway. One of them being half repair for the whole event. There were a lot of people that said that they actually coined a little bit more because of the half repair. There was another one saying, like, on the last day, having the ability. So if you say, like, if I've got 10K at the end of the last, or on the last day's checkpoint, I know I'm not going to go to 57, but I don't, 57K, but I don't want to sit here and try and hold on to my, 10K, the ability to like bank and finish bounty. So if you get your 10K, say that's it, I'm done, and then leave, which probably wouldn't happen because then, everybody would be doing that and there wouldn't be anybody to hit.
And there's no incentive, yeah.
Yeah, but Jeremy Beekman came up with a kind of interesting way to bank bounty that I thought that I'd throw out here with you two is when you get bounty, 50% of what you get is banked and 50% is left there to secure. So let's say I go and schwack George's base and he's worth 10K in bounty. 5 of that gets instantly secured, and then 5 of it is sitting there in the unsecured amount, which is okay.
That would work as a whole with no checkpoints.
With no checkpoints. The only problem that I can see with that is, let's say I hit George 5 times and get 5 out of him. Does that mean I'm going to have 25 banked and then 25 unsecured? That's a whole lot of unsecured sitting out there that's going to, build up. So
yep, and players are very loss averse. So that's why, I mean, the one that I had thought of was to do, like, let us do our own checkpoints. We decide when we want to bank it, but you can only bank 90% of it. So you can go in and run up to like 10, 15,000 and bank it, but you leave 10% for someone else to hit.
Well, I think one thing I really, really find difficult is the last 57K checkpoint. I think as a player, it just puts a lot of pressure on you. You know, it makes the whole thing stressful. And I know it's a PvP event, and that's what we should be doing. But I don't know, that last day, that last checkpoint is just, I just hate it. I absolutely hate it.
I mean, if they're going to keep the checkpoints, I would rather see them add one more per day. So you have one at, you have the 2, 2, 2, and 2, right?
10.
You have the 4 2000s, then you have a 10,000, and then add another one after that at 15.
Or 2 10s.
Well, I mean, you want to kind of make each one a progressive thing, because the thing is, with all the points that you need now, it's not. If you go back to Bounty 1, how many did we need then? Like 50 grand or something. I mean, it was, and now it's like 100 and what was it, 118? But this is getting ridiculous.
But is the amount needed is growing bigger, and the people playing it and getting there is getting lesser.
Well, and you can't bank, you can't secure more to get to that higher payout. So every day, I mean, let's be realistic. I mean, and not from my perspective. I mean, I'm talking about the big kids playground. In the big kids playground, essentially they're having to get 50, 60,000 a day in order to be able to get, the full amount with their losses to be able to get all of those points. I'm quite happy to sit there and bank, 2K, 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 10K, be done with it, and then maybe a little bit if I can hold on to it for the last day. But you're almost being forced into where you're having to leave 20, 30,000 out there on a daily basis, or a huge amount on the last day, to be able to get there, and it's almost impossible.
But and also, I think, do they not want players to get the prizes? Like, they invest their time, and their resources into creating new items and testing new items and the artwork and everything else involved in it, and then they set them at prices where people can't obtain them. What's the point in that?
Well, I mean, they might want to limit it, and I think the theory behind limiting the distribution is that other players would see it and they'll want it, right? And that works if there's an avenue for them to get it relatively soon. The problem is they'll do that, and then you're not going to be able to get it for another 2 months, in which case they're trying to get the next best thing, not the past best thing, And I don't know how they would be able to fix that, because the other option is to put it in the first raid afterwards, and that's not going to work, because then why bother doing bounty at all? They've kind of painted themselves into a corner, and I don't know how you'd get out of this one. I mean, I can see the theory behind what they're doing, and I understand it. I just don't know that this is an actual good application of that theory.
I definitely feel, I know we're about to move on, but I definitely feel that bounty, it needs something. Something needs worked on. Something needs altered slightly. I don't feel that it's correct the way it is.
I got to go back to Bounty 7. That was the best one out of all of them.
Yep.
Okay. Scorpion.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. We're just running out a little bit of time here. With the update today, we saw the Scorpion Sting TLC get loaded. Runtime is from today through until the 9th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. The requirements, of course, is to own the Manticore blueprint, no longer required to build. And it says recommended ships, assault ships, Manticore will perform better than Phoenix or Skyfire. What we do know at this point is the Cadiz is not able to do this TLC. Yeah. So I know there are a lot of upset people, but I did want to bring that up. With respects to Phoenix and Skyfire, what I'm hearing from people up till the time that we started the show, unless it's changed, Skyfires are struggling because the antis that are in the targets are shooting down the UAVs. So unless you are able to split your Skyfires up and attack things at multiple angles, you're going to really struggle. Phoenix apparently is doing much better with that TLC, and folks are using the Manticores. I did see a couple of screenshots from David where he was able to complete them. I think he had 4 fully built ones. I know one fully built one gets through prize pack 1. So there seems to be, depending on your build, the various abilities of the Mantis.
I think Ren actually has a Skyfire video coming out for this TLC, at least prize pack 1. So that should be out, I think, tonight, actually. So take a look for that, guys.
Yeah, he's been doing a couple of videos today, and I'll talk about a couple of those in a minute. So thanks for that, Ren. Prize pack 1, of course, is the Stinger missile. Prize pack 2 is Strike System 5 and 2 Manti VXP tokens. Prize pack 3 is the Scorpion CIC and 3 Manti VXP tokens. And then we've got the Mastery Run, which can be completed 3 times. Gives you the Nightmare Manticore skin, which is kind of red in nature. It kind of looks cool. And then 1 measly little 1-day Manticore build token. Yes, that's 1. That's not a typo. Rue did check it multiple times.
They are
and
so.
verified it.
That is insane.
They are so cheap. That is the cheapest.
Yeah, and then 3 medium Manticore VXPs. So for all of that work, being is that here we are on May the 1st. The raid is in 10 days' time. So anybody that did hold off on their Manticore scatters because they want to go straight to missiles, that was hoping maybe that they'd get a little bit of a break for tokens. I'm sorry to break it to you. It's not happening.
Hey, look on the bright side. You could almost build 1 dry hole. So
yeah. I mean, no, this actually brings up a good thing that I'm getting very frustrated looking at the build times and stuff, and all like we went from them cutting down the overall tokens that we get per year, right? Because the FM changed and the amount that we got in the FM, it just feels like we're getting nickel and dimed again, which is one of the worst things that happened last year, and it just seems like it's a continual progression now. It's like, come on, man. Do you want us to play the game or not?
Well, I mean, the thing is, don't worry, George, because there'll be a time limited offer. It'll be 30. Oh yeah, 30 days of Manticore tokens for the price of 29.
Yep,
that'll be just before the raid or Jordan raid.
Yet another thing I won't buy.
Yep. Okay, so that's the Scorpion. Sting, there are a couple of videos out there, thanks to those early adopters that went out there and took the pain for everybody to share your information. It is greatly appreciated. So hopefully we'll see a Skyfire vid here from Ren soon. Again, if you've got Skyfires on the higher levels, if you've got Phoenixes, use those instead of the Skyfires.
You know what? I'm just curious with you guys. We can't build, obviously we're not going to be able to build this, right? Because we don't have enough time between now and the raid. And yet we still don't have enough resistors to build a full fleet of scatter. What the freaking hell are we supposed to do?
I have a scattergun Manticore building, the first one. I built 4 dry holes and scolded them in VXP weekend. And I had the first one. It's not even finished. It's like 5 days away.
But here's the thing. You don't even have all the damn friggin' resistors. Like, I'm building one of them with the other resistor, and I had to change the build to accommodate that. And I'm like, if I wanted to even do this, I'd be boned too. I'm boned either way. Like it feels like they don't want us to even play the next damn raid.
I already hate these ships, and I already do not feel good about the upcoming raid cycle.
Well, I was just going to say, the upcoming raid cycle, they've got to look at the damage and base that damage on what 90% of the player base has, and not on the 10% that have the full fleet and coined a whole bunch, because we're using all the tokens that we can. I've used 30 days worth of tokens, and then I've got this week's coming up. I've still only got 3 done, and I haven't been pussyfooting around and doing other stuff. I made the decision to go with the scatter version, and I'm not even putting the new resistors on. I'm using the old, Speed System 6 and old tech, what have you, and I'm only going to have 3, maybe, unless the sky falls and I get a 7-day token in the weekly, and I may get half a one done. But I really think they need to look at the damage based on how many people have.
And they also have to stop tuning it to the absolute top end players. Like, I get so much hate mail now when I do some of the videos, and it's if they're tuning to players that do like the videos or try and help the community, y'all got to stop. That is asinine. You should be at a mean average at the least.
Well, and also, I mean, I one thing that I feel really annoyed about with this whole Manticore, I mean, we were fed a line that we would only need 1 hull, and I think, I certainly accepted it. I thought, oh wow, they're finally listening. We need 1 hull, and we were tricked. We've ended up needing to build 2 types of the same hull, which we will need to. I can guarantee it. And they've got a much higher build time and a much higher repair time than many of the hulls we've seen this year. So this whole, oh guys, we're listening, you just need to build 1 hull, is bullshit. Sorry, excuse my French, but it is crap.
Well, and then let's, in addition to everything that you just brought up, let's talk about 4 hours and 30 minutes repair time per hull for the regular hulls with the new non-charged armor.
Oh, and on a TLC that has what, like 7 and 8 things that we have to sit down and blow how many hours to get through?
Yeah.
I mean, I and look at the repair time, and I cannot. I hate to think of what the damage is going to be in the next raid.
Yeah.
Well, at least the next raid is half damage. When they go to the map targets, I mean, way back in the day when they proposed putting the raid targets onto the map, they were supposed to tune them down for the map because we're not at half repair. That has never happened. In fact, they've actually gotten harder in some instances when they went to the map, which is absolute horseshit. Okay.
Well, but even if they do that, though, George, that's great that you take less damage in the target itself if they tune it down. But what about the sniper that comes along and snags your fleet?
Yeah, your bone. No, we've discussed that. We discussed that Saturday.
I already feel tricked. I feel like we've been tricked.
And here's the thing: is they want to know, like, they don't understand why everyone's frustrated. And you try and explain, like, this is this and this and this, and they're like, oh well, yeah, and they're so focused on each thing individually rather than taking a look at everything as a whole. And it's like they don't understand with the FM, for example, right? It's not that hard to understand. If someone's going and doing the FM and then they have to go and repair their fleet, they're not doing anything else. They're going to park the damn fleet, and that's it. Unless you want to coin the FM, and if you want to coin the FM, I wish I had your friggin' income.
Well, think about how salty next month's going to be with, like, the whole FM stuff still up in the air, the glitched Howie stuff still up in the air, and in this new cycle with this crazy, it's going to be a hell of an interesting forum next month.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Not to cut you guys off. We have a couple slides that we still need to go through and do want to go over these. First one is the Stinger missile. Scourge missile, aggressive assault weapon utilizing corrosive laced penetrative warheads. This one's got a projectile speed of 200. Reload time is 6, which isn't all that great. And it does do the corrosive damage. Another chubby weapon.
Yep, both this and the scattergun have both types of damage types. That is something to keep in mind when you are designing your fleets.
Yep. Okay, the Scorpion CIC. This, of course, is the missile version. Augment the missile weapons. I was so very happy to see the reload on this because there's bugger all on the hull. We've got 75% reload as well as additional penetrating damage. Let's talk about auras. Special ability, bonus effect applied to each Manticore in the fleet. It does give a boost of 8% combat speed and then a tactical field resistance aura. Now, my understanding on this is that it's when it goes into Berserk, this thing is lit for 9 seconds, and then it's off for 9 seconds, and then it's lit for 9 seconds. And so to take advantage of that extra defense that's listed here with the damage reduction for corrosive, penetrative, and splash, you want to time hitting ships while that is actually lit. Is that about right, George?
George?
Oh.
Hey, so I'm sorry. No, I was actually just checking something. There's something we actually probably had to have added on to this because it's an important. I'm trying to find it right now in the game. So just looking at the special abilities, that combat speed, because I actually just had someone message me. That's why the combat speed is +8 to every Manticore in the fleet. That won't let you actually stack with the other one. Because if you look in the movement section of that, it actually has another speed buff in that as well.
So you're saying you can't stack the 2 CICs, is that what you mean?
Right.
But why would you mismatch the CICs? You're either going missile or...
Well, maybe you could
because of the defense. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see.
I'm trying to find the... because I think some of this has actually changed too from the one that's in the game.
Well, I actually pulled this from the game.
It was from the game?
Not from the screenshots. I always pull it from the game.
Changed in the update.
Did you pull this before the update or after the update?
Pulled it after the update.
Okay. Because I know it changed from
I believe so.
earlier.
I think it did.
Yeah, because it changed from earlier today to after the update. That's why I'm trying to just check. I am so sorry I lost like track of what you guys were saying because I was
No,
like,
that's
okay,
all
wait a
right.
minute.
I'll verify that before I
Just,
upload the slides. But
yeah,
I
because
think I
that's.
pulled this from the game.
Let me see.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on, and we will verify that and update as necessary. The next one that we've got is Strike System 5. Advanced electronic strike package that improves speed and missile range without accuracy lost. Of course, this one you have to be careful when using because there are stacking issues with this. You can't just throw this on plus your resistors, that type of stuff.
And for that reason, I don't see people picking this a great deal. I don't see this being like used over resistors.
I don't know.
Yeah, this is actually different as well because there's turn speed on it now.
Oh, is there?
Yeah. Yeah, they have a 61.9% turn speed on it. So it's both of these have changed since the beginning.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll update the slides before we upload them then.
Yeah.
Other than that, is that the only difference on this?
I think I'm trying to bounce back and forth between the two right now. Live.
I'm sorry, I pulled it from the game, not from the night.
And I just the bonus. Well, I think the bonus combat speed is because do you have yours at R5?
Mine's at R15. Yeah.
I mean R15. Yeah. See, mine says 105.2 now.
Interesting.
So, and it's 30, 60, 30, 30, 60, 30, and then there's no flak evade bonus anymore.
Okay.
So
yeah, I've always pulled them from the game because I've seen situations in the past where the stuff that was on the notes was older values.
Apparently they've changed a couple times. Fun times. Look, guys, can you at least, if you're going to put it in the game, give us the right stats? Because this is like, wow.
Okay, well, we'll update the slides before we load them.
Sorry, everybody.
In there. That's all right.
Hicks decided to change things on us within the same day, I guess, too. All right, cool.
Yep.
Yay.
Okay, so that was for the new stuff. In addition to the Scorpion TLC, we've got the Skyfire Elite TLC. This one, of course, is to win the Skyfire carrier, its toys, and some tokens. This one is... Sorry?
Do it.
Yes,
do
this
it.
one is for garrison fleets, and you can use your dragons in these. In fact, Ren has posted a video with some dragons that are in there that's worked really well. Prize pack 1 is the hull, as well as the Banded Hornet and the UAV targeting. I cannot talk today. Targeting circuitry. There we go. Prize pack 2 is the Policis UAV upgrade, as well as tokens. Prize pack 3 is... just tokens across the board, BXP as well as build. And then prize pack 4 is the Gutspill Skyfire carrier. Of course, you're only allowed one of those, as well as Skyfire build tokens and Gutspill build tokens.
I really wish this was a co-op because a lot of players need titanium, and this is the fleet that you want to use for titanium. Do this TLC if you can, guys. Let's not
forget though that this could Skyfires could be beneficial when the low end targets of the next cycle, much like Ironclads were in this cycle. Do you know what I mean? So there could be players that have half built Skyfires or aren't quite there with them yet, and this could be a good chance to grab some tokens, apply some charged armors, and just get yourself kind of in the run-ins a little bit.
Yeah, I'm actually very lazy. Haha. I don't like driving my Phoenix, although if I have to, I will, to go out and get a bunch of titanium. I just kind of like yakking on comms and autoing with just a couple of Skyfires. You can auto 65s even without the flag. Of course, the more Skyfires you get and the flag, then ultimately you can get to the point where you can auto the highest target. But even just a couple of Skyfires will keep you up in titanium.
I auto every damn thing now. Because it's chores. Chores are not fun for me. I'm not going to freaking go in there and drive. I mean, if I was bored and I wanted to, sure, I can drive all of them, but I can auto the damn things and just repair.
Yep. Okay. We've got some Icebreaker retrofits that have been loaded to the game. These are retrofit level 6 through level 10, and they include a new skin to go with. I haven't really looked at these. There wasn't anything huge that jumped out at me. Of course, these are good if you don't have the dragons and you're still using your icebreakers on the FM.
Yeah, but let's be honest, right? They just came out with the other retros, right? and then they added these on because people can't do the 112s with the other ones. But have you seen the time it takes to retro these things up to R5, let alone to R10? If you're gonna do this, I think the last one, like R5, was like 2 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna be doing that, you're gonna eventually get the dragons and stop building those instead before these are even done retroing.
But by the time you get to R10, the Forsaken missions will have changed. You know?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I mean, what the hell's the point?
Like, that's the most. That's what I don't understand about them rolling out all these retrofits recently. Like, they really haven't thought it through.
If they were a day each, fine. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's what I was
the
gonna
lower
say.
players, because the people that want to use this are the lower end players and the ones that are damage averse.
That's exactly
hell. Look, the monolith ones. I started the monolith ones when we could. I still have 3 days left on my R5 one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How long was that one?
I think it was like 14 days.
Exactly as you said. I mean, these aren't benefiting anyone but the mid levels and the low levels, and you know they should just be a day. It's not gonna change. They're not giving us anything.
You know what I'd like to see?
Andrew in chat just said to go to R6. It's 12 days. 17 to 5 is what Cuttlefish said.
Wow.
So it's 17 to go to 5, and then another 12 to go to 6. Who the hell's going to use this?
Well, I was just going to offer a solution to that. Is that how about a retrofit lab just for the hulls? I mean, obviously shorten them, but also pop it into its own retrofit lab because
But the thing is the amount of time it takes to actually get there. By the time you get to R10, they're not going to be freaking useful to you.
I understand that. I'm saying in addition to shorten the times and create a hull retrofit lab, because they're obviously going to continue to keep doing this, and then that way you can be doing your weapons and stuff at the same time.
Or just let us do 2 things at once. You know, one ship and one like armor or special at the same time.
Yeah, but if they cut it down to like 1 day, it'd be fine. Or hell, put them in the freaking foundry, I guess, or something. I mean, we haven't used that thing in how long?
That didn't really have its desired effect from the get-go, did it?
Yeah. No.
Okay, moving on to the last slide that we've got. We've got bug fixes and balance changes. They corrected the error that caused the 103 and 111 FM targets to not appear in the locator. So those are back. I took that screenshot this afternoon, so now you'll be able to find those.
Excellent.
Okay.
Because I know people don't want to hit the 117.
So that was all I had.
Okay. So that's it.
Perfect.
We're pretty much on time as well. So it's been quite a busy week, really, hasn't it? I guess there's been a lot going on and still a lot to sort out.
All I know is there are a lot of frustrated players right now, and I mean a lot of frustrated players, and I can't blame them. I mean, I'm frustrated, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of players like quit before Bounty even started. Like the alliance I'm in, and there was like 3 players that just scrapped the second they seen over damage.
Well, I mean, they're expecting to hit bases and stuff, and I mean, I know how frustrating it is to go into a base and you're like, okay, I got this, and you sit and you spend the time to get your hulls built, and then you spend the time to try and figure out how to break this or that, or be able to go in and understand what's going on, and then all of a sudden, oh surprise, your fleet's at the bottom of the water because they got a super Howie. What the hell?
It's a shame because, you know, the year started off so well, and I really thought that we were on such a great path. And I think, you know, I don't think it's unfixable, but certainly the last month has been pretty bad in terms of the decisions and the way stuff's rolled out. And I hope and pray that they can bring it all back together. I mean, it wouldn't take a great deal for them to resolve the FM issues. Let us know what's going on with Howies. You know, a lot of this stuff could be fixed really easily if they just, you know, got their balls to do it. Do you know what I mean?
They have had a universal, like, people like uproaring about the FM, right? Because we went from 0 damage to like an hour and a half damage, or what most people are saying. And that's the other thing. Like, I'm getting an hour and a half, 40 minutes damage. People are like, I'm getting twice that, more than like 3 times that. And they're very frustrated about that. And there's been no movement on that by Kixeye. And the only thing that I can think of is that they've found people that are actually willing to coin the FM, and bully for them. That's great, but that just kind of makes for a player base that's not happy because it's not fun. You know,
I sometimes. Sorry, go on.
Well, I was just gonna say, and I'm waiting for this balance too, because we're going from swing to swing. I mean, like, what base are you gonna get into now that has all the missile stuff in it?
Mm.
You know, it's another swing the opposite way now, and I don't know. I'm frustrated. I still enjoy parts of the game, but I'm very frustrated by other parts of the game. So,
I honestly feel that they're quite stubborn. I certainly feel that way recently. Like. And I don't mean this, certainly don't mean to offend or insult anyone. That's not what I mean at all. But I feel that as a company, they're very stubborn and they're not listening to their community as much as they should be. Or they are, and they're just completely ignoring us. I get the impression that they think they know better. They think that we're wrong and what they're doing is right. And they're not listening to us. And I think that you know, the way the game is right now, the way FM is, the way some of the stuff is a prime example of that. They think that they know better, and in some senses, you know, they're game developers. Of course, they know stuff about what they're doing different to us. It's a company, it's a business, and we know all that. But
and they can see the whole picture, yeah.
But at the end of the day, if a large majority of their player base is unhappy and is telling them why they're unhappy, then they should fix that.
You know, way back in the day, way back in the day, there was an interview of Will Harbin where he said something along the lines of, you know, this is he said the typical thing back then, you know, this is a game this is a game company made by gamers for gamers, right? And he said in the interview something along the lines of they don't really hold to metrics as much as other companies are at all, unlike other companies, because that's how they became successful, is that they wanted the fun in the game. The players have fun, they're going to spend, right? And it's a very simple concept and it worked very well. Mm-hmm. And it just feels like they are relying on metrics they're relying on metrics they can measure rather than a metric that they can't, which is the fun factor. And that's one that they have to start taking into account again.
Mm. Well, in fairness, you know, most Flash games live about 4 years. BP's, you know, going into its 8th, or is it in its 7th? So, you know, they're doing stuff right. And obviously they've made a game that people thoroughly enjoy. I thoroughly enjoy it. That's why we're all here. We all really love this game. But the community does keep getting smaller. And that's their own doing. That's their own, mostly that's their decisions that are making players walk away. I'd like to see this game continue to prosper and continue to grow and not continue to get smaller. I don't really. I think it's been a great year, so up until maybe like mid-April, beginning of April, and I feel that you know, there's some stuff going on right now. I hope towards the end of May we're not saying this again, and I hope they bring it back together. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah,
I mean, maybe they see the bigger picture and they understand what's coming. But again, that goes back to, well, if that's the case, then tell us.
Yeah,
if we know what's coming, then we'll have more patience and get less frustrated rather than just get so frustrated we just walk away from the game. I mean, that's not, I don't believe that's their intent. They don't want us to do that, but that's what's happening.
Yeah, and let me put this out there, and this is 100% honest truth. If they ever flip PvP like that again before Bounty, I'm completely done with this game. Like if they ever lay something like that on us 24 hours before a PvP event with no notification, with no telling us, with no communication, just one day before, bang, then that's it. I will gladly walk away from this game, because that was just a farce, as far as I'm concerned. It wasn't what they did. It was when they did it. It was terrible. It's a horrible final note to leave it on, but that's the final note. Rue, is there anything you want to throw in there?
No, I have updated the slides, so I will load those with the link here momentarily. And I guess they did change right around the update time.
Did they change I didn't check the hull. Did they change that too? I mean, nothing like a last-minute change, not letting anybody know,
I
right?
hope the hull didn't change, because we've already built them.
I mean, I'm going to go back and check my scatterguns now too. I mean, what the heck?
Okay, guys. Well, listen, on that note, we will end it there. I hope everyone has good success in the TLCs. You know, get out there, see what you can do. I'm sure there'll be some videos up. Ren's got some videos. We'll put some links to Ren's videos in the description of this YouTube video, so if anyone wants to check that out. But I'm sure they'll be on the TFC page as well. Have a good week in BP, guys. You know, try and forget that Bounty Season 9 ever happened. It's like it's like one of those nights you just never want to remember again. But we will see you on Saturday for the open mic, and in the meantime, have a good week.
Yep. Have a good night, everybody.
Night, everybody.